So in this video I'm going to show you another creative use for Bondaweb, and that's in when you want to do appliqué to attach a motif to your background fabric. So for this you're going to need your background fabric, which can of course be any fabric that you're using for your project. I'm going to show you how to use a fabric that has a motif in it, but also some pattern fabric. Obviously you're going to need Bondaweb. Now this is a sheet of Bondaweb. The bubbly side is the Bondaweb, the backing sheet is plain. You're also going to need baking parchment, ironing mat or ironing board, iron, and I'll explain what the baking parchment is for in a little while. So first of all I want to show you how to use a motif that's already on a fabric. So I've already cut out one from my cat fabric. Now I'm placing it with the right side down on the backing sheet of the Bondaweb because I want to make sure that when I put it onto the Bondaweb it will work the right way around. I'm using a particular pen for this called a friction pen, which if you happen to have some on the fabric, don't worry, because when you iron it will actually remove the pen. So we're just drawing around this on the backing sheet. So now I'm just going to cut it out, and then I'm going to show you how this works with the cat motif. Sometimes you find fabrics that already have motifs in them which make them nice and easy to use if you're not happy to create your own. So now this is where the baking parchment comes in. If you get Bondaweb on your iron, it will transfer to anything you use afterwards. So I've got baking parchment underneath, my background fabric, and now I'm going to place my motif with the right side down onto the backing fabric. Actually at the moment the backing fabric's not essential, but the Bondaweb I'm going to place on the motif with the rough side down because that's the glue. Because Bondaweb is essentially a sheet of glue that's not activated until you heat it. So I've got another piece of baking parchment on top to protect my iron, and now when I iron onto this it will activate the Bondaweb. Now you need to leave it a second or two to cool before you peel it off. Now once you peel it off you'll think that you've actually peeled off the Bondaweb as well, but you won't have. You'll feel it feels sticky. So now I've got the Bondaweb onto the wrong side of my motif. So I'm now going to place that with the Bondaweb side down onto my background fabric. Again with the baking parchment in case there's any Bondaweb has escaped around the edges, and just iron it. So now that should have activated the Bondaweb and it will stick. Now obviously yes, that will just stay, but if you want it to stay longer term and also for decorative purposes, you do need to do some stitching around it. Now that can be hand stitching, machine stitching, that's up to you. So that's how to use it for a motif that's already on a fabric. So what if you want to make your own motif? Well, obviously you can draw them, but if you're not comfortable about drawing, things like these come in very handy, biscuit cutters. So what I'm going to do now is got a nice piece of pattern fabric. So I'm now going to draw, I have already drawn my heart shape onto the wrong side of the fabric, that being the right side. So now I'm going to cut this out. Now obviously, you can create your own motif depending on what your project is. So it could be flowers, fishes, stars, whatever you're working on. I'm using a heart because they're just a nice shape to work with. So I've now cut out my heart from the fabric. Now again I'm going to draw this onto the back of the Bondaweb. Now the main reason for this is that if I just stick the Bondaweb onto the fabric and then cut the motif out, I'm then going to have a lot of fabric with Bondaweb on it that I don't want. So this way it saves you wasting both Bondaweb and fabric. So again, the same as I did with the cat, I'm just drawing around it on the backing sheet of the Bondaweb. So I'm now going to cut that out. So this is exactly the same process as we did with the cat head, but this is showing you can create your own motifs depending on what your theme is. So again, motif right side down, wrong side showing, Bondaweb bubbly side down on top. Don't forget your baking parchment, because trust me, if you do, you won't be able to use your iron for anything much afterwards without it leaving black streaks. So there we are. So that's my, so again, give it a second or so just to cool. Peel off your backing sheet, and if you feel it, you'll feel it has a slightly rubbery feel now. So again, now I've got my background fabric, Bondaweb side down, iron it, and there you are, ready for stitching. There we are, there we have the cat and the heart. So that's how you use Bondaweb when you do appliqué, because you can of course just pin these onto the fabric, but I sometimes find if I do that I end up with a little bubble which isn't very good. The Bondaweb just helps to keep them flat and hold them in place. So first of all, I thought you might find it useful to see what Bondaweb actually looks like. So I've taken a piece off the backing sheet, which is this. So this is actually Bondaweb, which is basically glue, but only activated by heat. So now I want to show you how you can also use the same technique to enhance any clothes you might have that got a bit dull, or even you might have a favourite top where you've got a stain but you can't remove it. So you can add a nice motif to cover it up. So I've prepared 3 hearts here with the Bondaweb as earlier. So all I've done now is place them on the t-shirt. Now you'll notice there is no baking parchment behind this because it's plenty of cover, but I am putting the baking parchment on top. So again, with my trusty iron, I am just literally activating the Bondaweb, which, by the way, if you happen to be watching this in America or possibly even Australia, I think it's called Wonderweb. So this is now activating the glue which will make my motifs stick to my t-shirt. But I will of course be then adding stitching to further enhance the motifs, but also to make sure that when the t-shirt is washed, the motifs don't actually come off. Turns out I'd left a piece of baking parchment under anyway. So there you are, there's a t-shirt ready now to be made even more interesting than it was before. So off you go and play.